Hey, it's Soul with another video, and today I wanted to talk about Yrel and the Light and all these recent developments that you may or may not have heard of yet, but let me just kind of do a quick recap and let you know what's going on. So I'm going to be talking about data mined information. It's very little information that we have so far, so all of this is totally subject to change, and this video could be a total waste of your time. It might be a waste of time regardless, but let me just go over what's happening in the Mag'har recruitment scenario. This is a scenario that will allow, like I said, the Mag'har to join the Horde in the Battle for Azeroth at some point over the course of this expansion. And what's got people really talking a lot is just kind of the, hey, here's what's been going on since the events of Warlords of Draenor. So the way that it's working right now is that since Warlords of Draenor, which happened to be on another world 30 some odd years in the past, time has gone by and we revisit Draenor as orcs, or as the Horde. And we see what's happened since those 30 years, because now we're in the present, so-called. So we see like an older version of Grommash Hellscream, and we learn a number of other things, such as Durotan has died in battle, and Durotan and Draka have a kid, and Grom has a kid who is, well, there's just a lot going on, but I want to kind of keep things very central to one specific thing, and that's Yrel. We've left her behind since Warlords of Draenor, kind of standing with Garrosh, declaring that yes, they saved the world and everything's cool and everything's going to be just fine, and it's totally not. So there are a lot of players that are really up in arms about what Yrel is up to, and what's going on now is that she's become a kind of zealot, a total extremist of the light, to the point where she's trying to subjugate pretty much the entire planet, where she's trying to subjugate the orcs into following the light and being what is what's being called the Lightbound, or at least the orcs are referring to people that join her as the Lightbound. Even Grommash's son, who happens to be named Garrosh, is also part of this team, and it's a mess, obviously. There's a lot of critique coming from players, a lot of pushback about, no way, Yrel's not supposed to be like this. The Light, no way, it's not supposed to be like this either. The writing's terrible, it sucks, oh my god, Blizzard favors the Horde, no high elves, yada yada. So it just kind of keeps escalating from there. What I wanted to do today is just express my understanding of what's going on based on this very, very tiny bit of information, and well, like I said, just kind of give my thoughts and open up some civil discussion about it. So here we go. Critics are deriding this new path for Yrel and the Bastes of the Light in a pretty negative way. Part of this had started ever since the Xera cinematic back in Legion, where Xera was trying to light forge the crap out of Illidan. And Illidan, of course, resisted violently. It started this narrative that makes the light not exactly the force for absolute good, but merely a force that in the right hands does do good, but in the wrong hands, maybe not so much. And in this case, we're starting to explore the idea of that with Yrel, who is very closely aligned with the light, wields the light, but is using it in a way that is more extreme than normal people would like. So the question is, how did Yrel get to this point? There are a number of fans that sing their praises of Yrel, even that she was the best part of the Alliance side of the Warlords of Draenor expansion, or the best thing about about that expansion period. So what happened to her? And my approach to this entire scenario is what the entire premise of Warlords of Draenor was anyway. What if? The what if is with Yrel, and I think this is just kind of what I'm speculating here. This is kind of a what if Velen wasn't around with the Draenei. We have Yrel, who was a prominent member of Draenei society by the end of Warlords of Draenor, and Velen, spoiler alert, is dead. At least that side's Velen. Now, without someone like Velen, who is like the spiritual leader, someone who I'm going to at least presume is a even-handed, with a good temperament, and is, who tries to, I don't know, just try to be a little bit more neutral about the teachings. Without someone like that to effectively hold Yrel back, it seems almost natural that eventually she would develop this sort of extremist attitude. And it's not even a sudden thing. 30 some odd years had passed since the events of Warlords of Draenor. Now, in context, from the very start of the Warcraft series, when the Dark Portal opened, after 30 years went by, we're at somewhere in the Mist of Pandaria expansion. Between those two moments, there was a lot of stuff that had gone on that can very easily influence a number of characters, or many characters, or factions, or races, or lands, to be severely warped and altered in very big ways. I don't think there's anyone that would question that within these 30 years, a lot of stuff has happened in the Warcraft franchise. Jaina Proudmoore has changed a lot over the course of the Warcraft franchise. Why wouldn't Yrel in this case? I admit that a lot of this does hinge on Velen. That's the whole point of this what-if kind of scenario. What if Velen wasn't around? Would the Draenei descend into some sort of a zealot-like society, knowing that they're not going to be pestered by the Legion, but at the same time feeling the threat of, hey, you know what, those Iron Horde Maghar guys and girls, they might pull this kind of crap again. So maybe what we should do, we should try to get them to be one with the light. Maybe we should get them on our side of thinking. That sort of mindset can very easily progress into an extremism where it's more like, well, it's turning to what we're seeing here, where join the light or die. Yrel might have developed that mindset over the course of 30 or so years of trying to do her best to protect the world, or protect, her slice of the world. And that's what makes Yrel and the light itself very, very dangerous, because they come from the premise of doing the right thing, doing what they feel is best. So they don't see themselves as doing anything wrong at all. And that, again, that just makes things really dangerous for them, because it's hard to hate the premise behind of what folks like Yrel is, and I guess Zero too, is trying to do. They're just trying to do what they think is the right thing. They want things to be peaceful and all that, but at the same time, they're not exactly being conscious of how other people might feel, such as Illidan, such as the Maghar in this situation. The big critique that I would have for Blizzard in this case is if they don't explore this idea any further and they just kind of let Yrel change. We don't get any explanation as to what's going on. We just leave it all behind, and like that's it. That would definitely feel like a waste of the character as a whole, knowing that we've seen her grow throughout the Warlords of Draenor expansion, and then over the course of a much longer period of time, we get no context. I mean, come on, we got 1,000 years of war with Alleria and Turalyon, but not with Yrel. That doesn't seem right. But that makes me think about Turalyon too. I did a video a while back that talked about the possibility of Turalyon becoming like the last boss of an expansion, or some sort of big bad that the Alliance and Horde have to defeat. And at first I thought, okay, this is just like a, pretty out the box idea. Let's see how this goes. After seeing this thing with Yrel though, it's really starting to make me wonder just what's Turalyon going to be doing over the next couple of years, or even sooner than that, like maybe even during this expansion. Because remember where Turalyon's coming from. He started off fighting in the First War and Second War. He went off to Outland and helped close the Dark Portal. He got sucked up and he was made an offer. Hey, we want you to help save your planet. And so he did. He stuck around with Alleria and the Army of the Light and fought for 1,000 years just so he can buy his planet a little bit more time, and then he can fight the good fight alongside them in the great fight against the Legion. And they won. But now that the Legion's defeated, what does he have now? He has his planet with a big sword in its back and it's dying. He has the Horde faction still alive and well, but more importantly fighting, and the Alliance doesn't have any clear chance of winning, or if anything, they're just not coming together to save the planet that they're on, because if the planet goes, that's pretty much it, right? So my thought is that if I were Turalyon, I would be fucking pissed off at this point. It's like, dude, I've been fighting this whole time to help out the world, and now that we're at this really critical moment, you guys are fighting each other. I'm wondering if at some point Turalyon is just going to snap. And he's going to apply the same sort of knowledge that Yrel does, where he might be like, well, you know what? If you're not doing things if the Horde isn't doing things the right way, and the Alliance isn't doing anything to help, then maybe I should be the one that saves the world. And he'll come to a point where he wants to stop the war between the Horde and Alliance by killing all of them. I know that's extreme, all right? I know that's really, really extreme, but we're kind of getting to that point where Turalyon feels like, just like Yrel, he wants to do the right thing. He wants to save his world, and the Horde and Alliance are preventing that from happening. So what do? You can side with one faction and try to annihilate the other one, but there might be another way that he thinks of that is like so extreme that the Horde and Alliance like really don't want that, but he sees himself as the hero. He wants to help. And it makes for a fascinating villain in both Turalyon and Yrel in this case, because you can't, like I said, you can't hate them for it. You can't see them as wrong for them believing that they're doing the right thing. It's just that the method at which they're doing it is definitely wrong. But the way that I see it, Blizzard is once again trying to make a gray villain, one who thinks that they're doing the right thing, and that's kind of like how Sargeras was. He was trying to destroy everything in order to make sure that the Void Lords don't destroy everything themselves. Garrosh, maybe that's a bit more questionable, but then he just had a very strong sense of nationalism, and he just wanted to make sure that his people thrived at the expense of like everybody else. Yrel is doing the same thing here, trying to either convert or kill off anyone who opposes her kind of worldview, and the possibility is kind of sort of there with Turalyon, who might be so desperate to save his world, he's willing to put himself against everybody in order to do it. So with regards to the writing, I think it's cool. I think it's a great exploration of, good and evil. And notice that I didn't use the words good or evil, because in this sense that I'm seeing here, Yrel isn't being evil. Turalyon, if he goes this crazy route that I'm talking about, he's not being evil. They're just trying to do the right thing. They're just willing to do what it takes in order to get there. And that includes some pretty extreme measures. You can apply this to Sylvanas as well, who's just trying to do the right thing for herself and for her people. It's not like it's, well, I'm not going to try to make examples of what's evil and what's not. That's totally up for debate. But we're kind of we're seeing Blizzard create these characters that have their own kind of agenda. They have their own motivation. And in the sense, and we're seeing this brand of extreme behavior. And well, I think it's cool. As for the delivery, though, it's a little bit questionable because this is coming from an allied race questline. So this is something that only Horde players are going to see. I would like to see a little bit more. I would like to see like a sort of kind of alliance perspective, if that's even possible. For all we know, we might get some sort of other allied race that'll give the alliance the opportunity to see this for themselves as well. So I would love to get some thoughts from you folks on this matter. Just leave a comment below. Let's try to keep it civil. I know that it's easy to fall into those tropes of, oh, the Alliance is supposed to be good and all that stuff, but I want to try to, I want to get some discussion going, like I said, to try to get some really good understanding between these different sides and different opinions. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and please consider becoming a patron to help support the channel, and otherwise, I'll just see you for the next video. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.